Welcome to Autism Knows No Borders, a podcast where people connected to autism inspire change and build community. Together with the Global Autism Project, I'm your host, Rachel Harmon, a professional with over a decade of experience in the field of autism services, outreach, and advocacy. Are you looking for tips on how to alleviate stress? Well, stick around because today's episode is a Global Autism Community Roundtable about stress management, featuring autistic self-advocates Hattie-Angelys Fox, Adrian Sanchez, Mary Johnston, and Corben Havener. The CEO of the Global Autism Project, Pinney, also joined us at the end. Among other things, we discuss various stress triggers, including personal responsibilities, societal pressures, and the impact of social media, effective strategies for managing stress, engaging in self-care practices, creativity as a tool for stress relief, physical activities to improve mental clarity, shifting your perspective through positive thinking, and the importance of sharing experiences with your community and feeling supported by them. In this episode, discover what's possible when you put out the fire before burning out. And now, I present you the Global Autism Community.
My name is Mary, and I am 24 years old, and I have a Instagram page called Autistic Rainbow 15, and I haven't been on it lately, but I still like to post things about my life on the spectrum to help maybe parents or, people give any tips or life advice on things that have helped me.
I am Corben Havener. Since July, I've actually been living in Indianapolis, Indiana. I am a public Montessori school here, so it's a Montessori offered by the public school districts. And of course, I'm an autistic self-advocate and a Skill Corps alum 2023.
Hi, my name is Adrian. I'm from North Carolina. I am a full-time IT specialist, and during my part-time in this community, I am learning a lot about neurodivergent behavior, and in a way, I am an autism spectrum navigator, learning to work my way into this world and listening to other people's opinions and learning to reflect that with what I can learn on my own as well.
Hi, everyone. I'm Angelys Fox. I am an early childhood dual certified educator. That means I educate in regular ed and special ed. I'm a board certified behavioral analyst, a licensed behavior analyst, and I've been working in the field of behavior analysis for over 20 years. I'm a late diagnosed, high-masking female autistic and mother to neurodivergent children and married to a neurodivergent partner. I'm honored to also be considered a moderator of the Global Autism Project community.
Thanks, Angelys. I'd like to just open up the conversation with talking about maybe some different situations that might trigger stress for you. And let me just pause here. If at any point you feel that the conversation is causing you stress, then, maybe you can just type in the chat to me or just let us know, hey, I just need to take a break, or, can we redirect? And we can totally do that. I don't want to provoke any anxiety for anyone. We'll try to close the topic with some tips and advice and stuff, but just to see, everyone has different triggers. So what are some things that come up for you guys?
I mean, I'm always willing to talk. I have a variety of things, right? So I have a psychological phobia. So that's stress inducing. And I've worked with therapists on it and it's gotten much better. And I've found supportive physicians and there's ways that I deal with that. It's around needles. So that's one thing, right? Other things for me can be unknown. And I think everyone has a fear of the unknown, but there's a desire to do what I'm being asked to do and to do it well and to show up with the best set of skills I have. That requires a lot of information, and that can seem, feedback from some situations can be that it's burdensome to give that over. It can tax friendships. It can tax all different kinds of relationships. A parent, right? So I also live with small humans who have big needs, and it is equally joyful as it is difficult. And, I'm a partner. And so I often say that sometimes the hardest things we do in our lives are the most rewarding things we do in our lives, but those can also be demanding when someone else is dysregulated around you and they're cohabitating with you. It can be difficult to find that space needed. And then recently I was diagnosed with a condition called hypercortisolism. So breathing can just cause stress because my body has decided that it doesn't know the difference between being chased by a T-Rex and just needing to like take a shower right now. And so it's constantly just throwing stress hormone, regardless of what I am necessarily thinking, feeling, or doing. My body wants to activate itself, right? I am not my body. I live in it. I am not my thoughts. I think them. I am not my actions. I do them. And so there is a degree to what's going on endocrinologically that is also just demanding.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing, Angelys.
I'd say for me, I guess to some degree, it's the unknown. When I was younger, my stress was quite severe in really every aspect, especially around school. I actually don't really know what would set me off now as it's gotten a lot better. And through the years of getting therapy, I've been able to have a lot of really good self-help strategies and things that I say that can help me regulate myself better.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thanks, Mary.
Yeah, I think it really comes down to, figuring out like pivoting to a new career, everything that just comes at you in teaching, knowing that, I am very fresh, but I'm still being evaluated. And, how do I set up these things that, I need to do, like really actively reach out with coaching or, coming up with plans that work for me, not so much other people, or just doing everything like, just this whole feeling of being under a lot of scrutiny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that can kind of expand to situations outside of work also when you feel like you're maybe being judged or scrutinized by friends or family too. It can be stressful. Adrian, how about you?
I can say, as we get older, there seems to be a stress growing each time. As a child, I basically just got upset and obsessed with trying to finish school and trying to get good grades. In my adult life, I can say that there is an amount of stress level that has built up over time, but at the same time, I'm still willing to manage it. And I'm also going to say that there are some more responsibilities that I would have to handle that every adult has to worry about. In this month, tax preparation is a big factor in every adult's working life, trying to calculate everything and making sure that all deductions are taken care of and being put in the right place. So for anyone who's able to afford it, they can just have someone else do the taxes for them and they can just go freely, but just keep files of all the important forms with them in order to be prepared for the next year's tax preparation. And aside from that, there's also stress that comes from trying to make relationships work or taking care of the house or paying bills. All those are in basic common necessities. But one thing that can combat the stress level is that even though there's more anxiety built up, it also means that we have more privileges in order to be responsible and take charge. Therefore, we are able to feel superior, and we can also pass down that knowledge to the younger generation. And in a way, we can also do some time managing. I do that a lot, and I keep a proper routine schedule in order to make time for some free time after all the responsibilities are taken care of. So I gotta say, it really depends on how much responsibility you have as an adult. But if you've got some good time management, you're able to accomplish anything without the need for a high stress level.
Time management definitely helps. Yeah. And you're right. The the older we get, I feel like the more responsibilities we have. And, some of you know that I just had a baby. And so, Angelys, what you said about taking care of other humans and having them to be dependent on you, that can add another layer of stress for sure. So, when you think about these situations that you're put in, how does that affect you? How does it show up physically, mentally, emotionally?
It really depends on the situation. I mean, if you already know what the task is ahead of time, then you've already got a plan put in place. But if it's something that's just put on you at last minute, well, this is an opportunity for adults as the superheroes to improvise, be creative, and try to think of something from past experiences. Oftentimes, we'll also seek information like social influences, which is now easily available with the internet. But at the same time, that's also causing a stress level too, because if you're emphasizing on the news, maybe focusing on the bad stuff that's happening, then that will definitely play into a factor of trying to predict what bad stuff the future may hold. But the most important thing that you need to keep in mind is that there is a way to change it, and there are some low probabilities depending on what your common factor is. And one instance, if you're living in a safe area, there's very low time that you're ever going to be able to be put in some kind of hostile situation. But if you already remember all the stuff you learned in school about just keeping an eye on yourself, having some street smarts, then you can be able to accomplish that certain way. There's also social media. You're pretty much trying to jump through hoops, trying to impress people, and you're trying to figure out, oh man, what am I going to put on my next profile, or what am I going to do to try to get some more likes? Well, that's basically the whole thing that we're pretty much all glued on. But social media is also another thing to just try to be responsible with. Just not be glued to it all the time. Just focus on what you want to do.
Right, exactly. Mary, you have
really like what Adrian said. I've recently gotten off of social media quite a lot. And as of lately, I've only gone on it one day a week. I would say I actually agree a lot with it causes you stress because a lot of people, like, you have this ugly tendency to compare yourself to a lot of what their lives look like. And I feel that way with a lot of my neurotypical friends. They're off like traveling the world and they've got all these jobs and, they're getting married and starting their own families. And, it's very easy to feel left out and depressed about that. And, you get very stressed out about like, why can't my life look the same or why isn't it the same? And you just have to take a step back and realize like you're fine the way you are or in the chapter that you're meant to be in.
Yeah, I think growing up with newer generations that are growing up with social media and having that constant comparison of themselves to people around them must be really challenging.
Rachel, you had asked how it shows up. And actually, for me, my introception is not as refined as some people's. And so I don't notice low level stressors. I don't notice necessarily stress until it starts to show up as physical pain. I don't know how many people are aware of like the neurobiology of autism tends to have a high correlation with synesthesias or basically crossed sensory pathways. But for me, one of those crosses is that stress can show up as physical pain physiologically. And it can for anybody like over long periods of time, but it does for me very rapidly. But that's like the first note I have of it that like, oh, I am experiencing stress as opposed to, oh, my plate's a little full or today's just got more than I wish it did, right? Like those differentials, what I would classify as stress. That's where it starts to show up is that way. But like Adrian said, the privileges that I walk with and having gratitude for them can also be really supportive. Like if I can get that quiet moment to be like, okay, I have this resource, I have this privilege, I have this opportunity, I can then oftentimes shift to restructuring myself, my environment, my thinking, or whatever else is necessary to kind of manage the situation more effectively. So those things are just important for me. And then also is bringing in the right supports. Like I mentioned, like with the psychological phobia, finding a physician who didn't hear like, oh, I'm afraid of needles, like understood. I'm not saying that. I'm saying it's psychological. It's beyond my control. Like who worked with me, who, we take some very specific steps at any point in time that we need to deal with that. And we've gained a lot of success as opposed to someone who's like, you're fine. Everybody does. No, I'm not saying that. So making sure that I'm interacting with people to the extent that I have control over that, who are hearing this is too much, or I need help here, or this is working for me, is really critical to allowing for me to feel like I have those privileges, resources, and tools at my disposal.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And, when I think about things that, stress me out, I mean, I think really like everybody tries to do some sort of one size fits all, but one thing that is for sure in teaching is, while, there is a period of time where you need to be at a certain place for a certain amount of time. Being salary, it is a deadline-based job, not an hours-based job. So, a lot of times work you do outside the building, or if some sort of correction needs to be made on your work, and that's there, that is a tough thing. I think when I got home on Friday, I was really tired. I slept, and what I was planning to do on Saturday, I thought I was going to do something Saturday. Everything just sort of ran into Sunday, and then all of a sudden it's just like I get in a procrastination mode where I'm anxious about starting what I need to have done, when it would make more sense to just get into it. But, like there's that moment where you get home, you just want to kick things off, sit down, or do your personal shopping or whatever. But, it's just kind of, my day just feels so full. Where's my pauses, really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I totally get that. Like you feel frozen. You're stuck starting something because of that anticipation of the stress that it can cause.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hello, Rachel here. Would you like to share your own perspectives by participating in roundtables like this one? Join our online Global Autism Community, a safe and judgment-free space where all kinds of people connected to autism regularly discuss important topics. For example, we just had another roundtable about defining love. And as each month approaches, we vote on which theme to discuss next. We'd love to see you over at community.globalautismproject.org, and let us know what you think about this episode. And now, back to the roundtable. Some of you guys have been mentioning some supports and strategies to manage stress. Let's elaborate a little bit more on those things.
I would say my first ones, whether it's for myself or anyone else, is a resource evaluation. What tools do I know how to use? Doesn't mean they might be the right ones, but like what's there? Do I have money to pay to take something off my plate? Do I have a friend who maybe is better at it? Do I have time that can be allotted to it? Like, what are the resources that are present? Because then it's seeing, do any of those match, right? Like if I need a screwdriver, do I have one? Kind of a thing. I like to start there. Honesty. I have a handful of people that I have unbridled honesty with. So I hide nothing from them, and they're always asked to not hold back with me, so that if it's something that they think like I could shift on from their knowledge of me, or like I need to put it down, or I need to put more attention to it, like I need that feedback. I often can get lost in my situation, or like I can't get that aerial view. I only see what was and what's in front of me, or what I perceive to be in front of me. So that's super helpful. Community is huge, whether it's like-minded people, or it's people who have a similar understanding, or it's people with wide acceptance spaces, or people who just like to show like that they are concerned. I'm trying to find something. fellow BCBA autism mom sent me a charm recently, and like it's just something that reminds me that I'm not alone. Even if I feel alone, I'm not alone, you know? So those kinds of things. So she sent me this rainbow tree of life. And, you know, just those little things, those kind of help me. But also, like, my community showed up for me in very large ways. I don't know how many of you are aware, but my son was born premature and had multiple surgeries. And throughout that process, my homeschool community, more than once, like, they literally cooked our dinner for over a month. I would just get a text message, your dinner's on the doorstep. Not only was that financial savings because I wasn't buying it and it was often leftovers, so we weren't buying lunch either, but there wasn't the like, we all do it even if it's just for ourselves. What am I making for breakfast, for lunch, for dinner? Did I eat enough? That was gone, right? All of that was taken care of. I've had community members do our laundry. I know it sounds silly, like, but like when you're going through something bigger, whether it's full-blown burnout or crisis, having people are in your corner, all of those factors matter.
Yeah, finding people who are going through similar things also, so you can share the resources that you have and whatever it is to get through. As I mentioned about being a new mom, I am part of this support group at this yoga studio that I was going to. It's called Mama Yoga. And so aside from doing the actual yoga practice, which is a great way to manage stress and also prevent stress, we meet once a week and just talk about things and just share some concerns and things that we might think we're crazy for. We hear it from other people too. And we're like, oh, you're also crazy. So we're all in the same boat. That's perfect. You just feel like someone has your back. And that's so important. So I agree, Angelys, community is a big way to manage stress. Who else would like to share? What are some things that you do to maybe listen to your body or, yeah, Mary, go ahead.
I would say something that's helped me a lot is I have this phrase that I say, good thoughts, kind thoughts, nice thoughts. So if I'm ever stressed about something, whether it seems silly or something serious, and my head is just rushing around and is just obsessing on that one thing, I just think good thoughts, kind thoughts, nice thoughts. Like, is this a good thought? Is it a kind thought? Is it a nice thought? If it's not, you need to work on letting it go, getting rid of it, flushing it out of your head. And you need to think something positive, something nice, something uplifting to help you get into a better perspective.
What was that phrase, Mary?
Good thoughts, kind thoughts, nice thoughts.
Oh, I love that. Hey, Molly, welcome. We're just wrapping up our conversation about stress management, this month's theme in the community.
I love it. Nice.
Yeah.
It's helpful for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
What's everyone's biggest takeaway so far? Can you put it in the chat?
Yeah, we're all kind of going around sharing right now what are some strategies to help you.
Nice.
Community was a big one.
Yeah.
Mary's phrase, I like that. Adrian, how about you?
An easy thing for me is to just think about what is in my control and what is not in my control. And what is in my control is basically the main thing that I have to be able to take charge of. One big example, we can't take charge of state officials or authority or the place or the weather, anything like that. So it's going to be there. But as for taking care of some bills or education and being able to be there for the family and the friends that are around us, then that's basically the one thing that we can be there for, especially since they're also the ones that help to relieve us of a lot of stress levels if they ever offer to do anything for us in return. And another thing that I usually like to use as a way to combat stress is to know that I would be in good health. One of the reasons why I decided to start cooking more, started making more drinks, and be able to get all those vitamins and be able to get all of those rich minerals that will help with brain functionality and being able to have the right type of energy for that. But aside from that, it's also important to just be a creative person and to be able to have a lot of stuff at our disposal and just use something to mash it up to create something, like a drawing or a painting, or being able to use some new software for creativity like 3D animation. Still looking into that stuff. And it's pretty good because you can also pass that on to anyone else who might be in need of that kind of stress relief. Autistic people I know just have stress relievers and fidgets, like fidget spinners, or one of those goo things like they squeeze all the time with the head, popping the eyes out every now and then every time you squeeze it. But yeah, creativity is a good way to relieve stress.
Yeah, I love it. And that can be in so many different ways, like Mary's cooking or artwork.
Yeah. And, I will say, one of the things the therapists found in Indianapolis so far, like I talked a lot about legislation at the state level. And like ultimately at the end of the day, I don't have the final control over that, but I try to use what I can. I literally live in a state capital, Indianapolis, so that puts me in close proximity. But today, after some pressure, we were able to get our district away from in-person learning, and I was with tons of people overall. Like our ISTA call to action is Red for Ed for the rhyming thing, and there's a bunch of people in our state capitol building wearing red, rhyming. I'm actually paying attention to the state Senate session. It was supposed to start at 1:30 and they delayed till 3:30. So I feel like our presence there hopefully push some things back, and hopefully they'll take a second look at the bill that we've been very concerned about and get it to a better place.
Yeah, I hope so too. Thanks, Corben. Molly, do you have anything to share about stress management, what you do to deal with life?
Just have no stress. I'm just joking. Everybody has stress, right? Yeah, I walk a lot. Like 5 miles a day minimum. I try to take a lot of my phone calls walking. I think that my brain works better when my body's moving. And so it serves two purposes. It allows my body to move around so my brain can work, and it relieves stress too. So I didn't realize how much I require walking until I didn't walk very much this winter. And I was like, something's wrong. And then I went to a warm place and I walked like 8 miles a day and it felt much better. So.
Oh yeah. Just being outside helps so much. Fresh air.
Try to be outside a lot.
Yeah. All right, everyone. Any last tips or anything to share? Something that you didn't get to in this conversation so far?
I think being aware that the stressors are real, but also minding for burnout. That's really important. And having plans for how you work your way back out of that. Sometimes getting ahead of it, it just happens. But if like, I do these things to work myself back out. So you have the preventative strategies. And when things become bigger than you are, you have curative strategies or recovery strategies too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so important. Thanks, Angelys. Thanks for tuning in to Autism Knows No Borders. Are you a self-advocate willing to share your story and educate others? Or a professional seeking to hear directly from autistic voices and improve your practice? Or maybe you're a family member hoping to support and empower your loved one. Whatever your connection to autism is, we'd love to hear your takeaways from this episode in our online Global Autism Community, where hundreds of people from all over the world come together to support each other and know that they're not alone. Join us today at community.globalautismproject.org. Let's work together to transform how the world relates to autism. Thanks for listening. Take care.